felt like an imposter. I'm like, I cannot come here and tell people to put themselves first while I am drowning in my work and my personal relationships.
We can metabolize the negativity that comes because we don't walk this earth sadly always faced with all of the good. You We have a continuum of, on one end, yes, good, and another end, bad.
Mhm.
And every moment in life, we're kind of, faced with different elements of that continuum.
Because the more you know, the more you're able to make like good decisions because now you know.
I do think, when you make that leap of faith and you immigrate and you move, sometimes assimilation feels like the right way to just get through and adapt and be accepted. And one moment in time, you realize this is not the way that I want to live. Hi there. Welcome to Unspeakable Leadership, a space that transcends time, borders, and barriers to reclaim our stories as women of color, leading in organizations, communities, and in our own lives. I'm your host, Rohene Bouajram. With a 20-year career trajectory of leadership, an aspiring storyteller, mom of a son and a fur baby, first-generation immigrant, and uninvited guest in Canada, I want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Let us grow together in conversation. No doubt you are thinking about many, many things on this journey that you have been on with us. And I believe that you will go even deeper with this next guest. Let me tell you a little bit about Emmerance Victoria Odia Ndala. Emmerance is the founder of Emmerance Coaching Incorporated and the host of the Emmerance podcast. For years, she lived as a follower, exhausting her energy just to keep the peace. After nearly dying from a sickness called meningitis, she realized that self love doesn't work without a strategy. Today, she teaches the self first standard. She helps people stop being careless with their lives and start leading their own environments. Oh my gosh, Emmerance Victoria, thank you so much for being here today, part of season 5 of Unspeakable
I
Leadership.
am so excited to be here and huge fan. Honestly, it's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. And the feeling is mutual, you know? You know when you can be fangirling another
Yes,
person? Like this is how I feel about you and I and the vibe that we
I
can
love
bring.
that. I love that for
So
us.
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's so good. It's so good. You know, I always start off with this first
Hmm.
question because it's always just such a beautiful way of us getting to know you and getting to know your journey. And I know you've already shared a little bit about that in me being able to share your
Yeah.
bio. So I think my first question to you is, can you tell us what has been this beautiful journey of leadership and life for you?
Oh, it's a beautiful journey, but it's only beautiful for me because I realized that the
Yeah.
downfall that I experienced is actually what brought me
Mm,
here. So I was already in the space of the podcast, my podcast, The Emirates. I
mhm,
created it in 2020 after going through
mhm.
this madness. I was really mad about everything, life, my family, everything, because I feel like we
Mhm.
were just going like slaves or zombies. We're not really thinking. We're growing. You go to
Yeah.
work, you go to school, and then
Mhm.
what is there to life? And so I
Yeah.
understood that there needs to be some type of self first in this because grew up
Yeah.
seeing my mom putting everyone else's first, and I see that it was not
Mm.
helping her. So that's why in 2020 I created the platform. I was helping people.
Mhm.
After I was able to pay off my student loans, was like almost 30,000. I was able to pay it off
Right.
like after finishing within 2 3 years. And so with
Wow.
that, I'm like, I'm able to go and help people. We can do this. And I
Yeah.
did it, started in
Yeah.
2020. And I used to live in Ottawa, moved to Vancouver. And in that
Right.
transition with my podcast, I had so much
Mm-hmm.
going on, like my life. I had a new boyfriend and a new job, and it was stressful to a point where I was no
Mm-hmm.
longer practicing what I was preaching in my podcast. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you practice what
Right.
you're preaching, you are
Oh
confident.
yes. It's all. It's almost like, please don't, like, don't put the mirror up.
Exactly. And so I really got into a place where I'm like, I felt like an
Yeah.
imposter. I'm like, I cannot come here and tell people
Mm,
to put themselves first while I am
yeah.
drowning in my work and my personal
Mm-hmm.
relationships. So I
Yeah.
felt ashamed and I stopped my podcast. I stopped my platform, literally my arena.
Right.
I thought that I was
Yeah.
never going to come back. I was really depressed and sick when I did that.
Yeah.
So almost 2 years of a break, I found
Yeah.
myself going on a long trip on my way back. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what I would say people need to pay attention to their intuition because it's like that
Mm,
communication that you have with your spirit. On my
mm-hmm.
end, going back from that trip at the airport, I was planning to put on my carry on bag in the
Right.
check in. And my intuition was like, no, don't do it. Like, why would you do that? Just go and put it, bring in the
Yeah.
plane. I was like, nah, I want to
Yeah.
travel light. So I went and did that. I got to
Uh-huh.
Vancouver. My check in bag was not there. I mean, my carry on bag was not there. So they were like, oh, it stayed behind. But I was like, it's okay. They will mail it to me or send it by, via
Yeah.
mail and things like that. So I'm like, it's fine. I'll get it home. I went home. 2 days later, my bag came broken. Okay. Yeah,
No.
so I lost a bag that cost me like $200. I was mad, but that's the day that I
Mm-hmm.
told myself my intuition was so loud. And it was just a bag,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so loud that I ignored it because it was just a bag. And so
Yeah.
moving forward, like a few days after, I fell sick. And that's when I got the meningitis
Mm-hmm.
without knowing it. I had fever, couldn't sleep. I was puking,
Mm-hmm.
and like nothing was working for 3 nights. And the fourth day, I started
Yeah.
cursing my own spirit. I was like, well, if this is how I'm going to die,
Yeah.
then let me die. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the whole day, same thing, couldn't eat, couldn't rest, couldn't do anything. And so the
Yeah.
truth, like the reality started facing me. And I was like, I might die tonight, So please
Yeah.
help me. I actually just want to at least rest, at least have a little rest because I know that my body is
Yeah.
able to heal itself. So just let me rest and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But please don't let me die. I take back what I said this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happened. And I'm not even joking. I went to sleep
Yeah.
for about an hour and I woke up and
Yeah.
it's like I was already awake because I got conscious
Right.
that I called an Uber to
Mm-hmm.
go to the emergency. And my
Mm-hmm.
sister came and it was like almost midnight. My sister came to check in on me to see if I was okay. And I was like, I'm going to the
Yeah.
hospital. And she's like, you're going to the hospital? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Like, I guess my spirit, like, I prayed for healing. And
Yeah.
I woke up with
Yeah.
my phone in my hand going to the hospital. And that's when I started becoming more and
Mm-hmm.
more very conscious about this intuition thing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
my spirit took the phone, went to the ER, got there. Usually the wait
Yeah.
time is 9 hours, but within 2 hours I got in. And that's what scared me. I was like, what is
Yeah.
it that I have? Because these people are moving. Okay.
Yeah.
And
They're moving faster.
exactly. And bam, the
Yeah.
doctor comes and tells me that I have meningitis. And they were surprised because if you Google it, it's like within 24 hours you die, right? Um, and on my end, I was just like, okay, 2 weeks at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
guys. 2 weeks at the hospital, it made
Mm-hmm.
me realize that, yeah, the self first is the way. I already had a beautiful platform where I was teaching people, but I also realized in
Mm-hmm.
that hospital how comfortable we are with sickness, how comfortable we are with
Mm-hmm.
depression, how comfortable we're just like managing it. We put it on the side and we just
Yeah.
live, right? And at the
Yeah.
hospital, I was really like, no, if we believe in God and in love and all
Mm-hmm.
that, we have to start believing that things can always be positive also, right? We can also have
Yeah.
just a positive life. Obviously,
Yeah.
negativity is going to come, but when you have boundaries and you
Right.
have those limits, those are the things that protect you from
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So that's
Yeah.
what got
Yeah.
me to come back, and that's my journey.
I like you've given us so
Yeah.
much, and thank you, because you know what I've always appreciated about starting with this question is every guest takes a different perspective and takes us on a different
Mm-hmm.
journey, which is why I ask it every single time, because I think it's such a critical question that opens up so
Yes.
much. And here's two things that are really coming up for me, Victoria, that you shared, that's so important. Is one is we can very quickly fall into the trap of creating this very polished outlook, especially when we create a
Mm-hmm.
platform. And the platform could be, as you've shared, a podcast, but the platform could also be digitally. The platform could be the way in which you express
Yeah.
yourself in your workplace, and who you want to come
Mm-hmm.
across to those. And when when we're in this sort of trap of we have to present ourselves in a specific
Mm-hmm.
way, because that's what gives us, credibility. It gives us a reputation. It People like
Yeah.
us, people validate us, like all of those things. And yet, in the background, if things aren't going well, or if perhaps your body is giving us signs to say, I think, time out
Mm-hmm.
here, I think you need to take a step
Mm-hmm.
back. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
courage to not try to stay in that place of being polished, being
Mm-hmm.
perfect, and continuing a platform that, like you said, you were no longer practicing what you were
Mm-hmm.
preaching. So that, I think, is so powerful, and I hope that somebody who's listening to this, realizes that uh, when you do that, the world doesn't fall
Mm-hmm.
apart, right? It's not like you lose something. If anything, you gain perspective, and you gain probably deeper understanding of
Yes.
yourself. And and then the second thing that I really want to say thank you for sharing is just the number of times that intuition came up for
Mm-hmm.
you, and your honesty in saying, and I didn't listen to
Mm-hmm.
it. And our bodies, and I've experienced this as well, and our spirits have this very powerful way of getting louder and louder and louder
Yes.
until we finally listen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it has to go through some, pretty drastic, kind of iterations of a message
Yeah.
to get you to a place where you're like, okay, I got it now. Like I'm
Your
so
intuition, when it's like it's literally a slap in the face when you don't listen to it.
oh, it is.
I always say, like, whenever I don't listen to my intuition, I will see the result and I
Yeah.
will not like that. Yeah.
Oh
And
gosh.
that's like everyone can say, yeah, our intuition is always right. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you reconcile that? Like reconciling that the intuition is gonna tell you the thing that you may not necessarily want to
Oh,
hear.
I mean, the way I live now, it's more
Yeah.
like, okay, me and my intuition were best friends. We're no longer enemies. So I understood that my intuition wants what's best for me and also knows the
Yeah.
future. The reason why I
Mm-hmm.
share the luggage, the carry-on bag story is because I
Yeah.
understood from that point, because it's very weird. Usually when we walk, we travel, we are not always like
Yeah.
conscious of what we're doing. But in that
Yeah.
airport, I was very conscious of, like, I can tell you exactly what happened from when I left my plane to the other plane, right? Because I
Yeah. Yeah.
was there present. But when I was at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, my spirit knew that I was going to be here. My spirit
Yeah.
knew that I was going to get sick and needed to
Mm-hmm.
give me a little ring that something is coming. And that something
Yeah.
was had to be my luggage, right? And when the luggage came
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
broken, it meant something
Yeah.
very powerful to me. It's like you
Yeah.
cannot fight your intuition. Like, I'm no longer
Mm-hmm.
going to get this
Mm-hmm.
back or a refund. But
Yeah.
I have my body now, and the fact that I got sick just a few days later,
Right.
I couldn't really see
Yeah.
that as a coincidence. It was just too perfect.
Yeah.
So the
Mm-hmm.
way you actually have to look at your intuition is it's your best friend. It's like I say that
Yeah.
your ego is there to
Mm-hmm.
protect the physical body, your conscious side,
Yeah.
but your intuition is there to protect your conscious side, your physical and your spirit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's your best friend.
If this conversation challenged the way you think about leadership, imagine what happens when we bring that energy into a room full of people. I keynote on the kind of leadership that the future demands of us right now, the kind that asks people to move beyond performance and into courage, strategy, humanity, and action. From opening conferences like our Untapped Gifts, bridging communities through what we carry for the city of Kamloops in 2025, to closing keynotes like my Rooted to Move, returning to yourself as an instrument of change for the first Nature Finance Bootcamp for Nature Investment Hub in 2026. My talks blend powerful storytelling, research, lived experience, and practical frameworks your audience can actually use after the applause fades. Whether I'm speaking at universities, leadership summits, conferences, or organizations navigating change, I create experiences that leave audiences thinking differently about who they are, how they lead, and what becomes possible when they stop drawing from the old playbook. And the best part? Your audience doesn't just listen, they feel seen. If you are planning a conference, a retreat, a summit, or an event and want a keynote that people will still be talking about on their flight home, visit my website for my media kit, speaking topics, and booking information. I'd love to create a moment your audience won't forget. I love that. I love that because I think what I'm really like reflecting on what you've shared is like the ability to have a different relationship with the internal parts of
Yes.
ourselves can really shape a different way of how we will carry ourselves in this world and how we'll start to interpret the signs and how we'll start to make meaning of the things that we end up experiencing or we're exposed
Mm-hmm.
to. And if we disconnect ourselves from that spiritual aspect of who we are, like at our
Mm-hmm.
core, we're actually disconnecting ourselves from our gifts,
100%. Yeah.
right? And then we're prioritizing survival and the rat race
Mm-hmm.
that can be the the definition and the cage of the
Yep.
arena versus, as you've shared, being able to see that life can actually be very
Mm-hmm.
different.
Yeah.
You shared with us something so powerful in that journey and in that
Mm-hmm.
experience. I'm curious, when you look back at where you were
Mm-hmm.
then, in the hospital, seeing things differently, reflecting, what helped you reconnect to a gift like the intuition that you have that you knew was always there?
It's the fact that I already had this platform, right? I already had my podcast. It
Mm-hmm.
started, like I said,
Yeah,
I was mad already. So I knew that
yeah.
the way to a better life is to put yourself first. And that's why when I came back,
Yeah.
I didn't change my slogan, which is self first isn't selfish. I just added it's a
Mm.
standard because
I love that.
I wanted to confirm
Yeah.
that I was right. But at the hospital, what I realized is I was lukewarm. And that's where is the
Mm.
part where we're like, okay, how to navigate your depression, but we don't say how
Mm-hmm.
to get into the root of that depression and not get depressed
Right.
again, right? And so
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
my realization is I told myself I was good. Like I already knew those things. These are the
Mm-hmm.
things that I need to do, but I need to stop
Yeah.
babying people. I need to stop talking to them as if,
Mm.
we are okay with being negative and positive all the time. I really had to
Yeah.
put a point and put my foot down to say, listen, self first isn't selfish. It's the standard. It's what's important.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your
Yeah.
lifeline. Okay,
Yeah.
and when I go with that, I
Mm-hmm.
also have to say, listen, your life can only be positive when you declare that it's only going to be positive. We're all
Yeah.
vibration, we have frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And at the hospital, I actually understood that negativity and positivity live within us, and
Mm-hmm.
accountability is what will
Mm-hmm.
save us.
Yeah.
And
Oh, accountability is where we'll save
mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Yeah.
I have to ask because there is sometimes that element of toxic positivity,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? And what I'm hearing you say is something that is very different, right? And that is that it's not like we're not acknowledging the
Mm-hmm.
negativity, right? It's around us, it's happening. However, that intentional
Mm-hmm.
choice of putting yourself first as the
Mm-hmm.
standard and declaring that this is what I'm
Yeah.
choosing, positivity is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
choosing, that creates a different frequency, as you
Yep.
shared. And so my question is like, how do you honor dialing in at that frequency? What are some things that you found really help you to honor that gift of staying at that frequency?
Oh, I grew up a Christian. I don't know about you, and I don't know the people who
Mm-hmm.
are listening. I feel like we all have this
Yeah.
religion, and based on the knowledge that I
Yeah.
have today, I see that all
Mm-hmm.
religions are basically the same. So when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about love, we cannot separate that from God, right? And I
Right.
grew
Right.
up knowing that God wants what's best for me. God dwells in love, happiness,
Mm-hmm.
joy, all the positivity. Basically, in 1 Corinthians 13, it says how, like, what love
Mm-hmm.
is. And that has been one of my favorite verse, actually, because whenever I
Mm-hmm.
read that, I'm like, I want to be
Right.
that, right? But I don't want to be a
Mm-hmm.
punk too. Like, you don't just want people to walk
Uh-huh.
over you and just, oh, I'm going to be in love and I'm going to
Totally.
accept anything. No, it's
Yeah.
understanding that even God cast out evil,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for me,
Mm-hmm.
how to
Mm-hmm.
stay in this positive vibe, positive energy, I understand that I'm a woman. I have my highs and
Mm-hmm.
lows. I allow myself to cry. I
Yeah.
allow myself to deal with the negativity that's going in my life, but I don't allow myself to
Mm.
dwell on it. I always try to find a
Right.
solution to my issues. And it's always that, like, you always have to find a solution. And that's the positive part is, okay,
Mm-hmm.
someone might have done something bad to me, ruined my day, but the rest of my day doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to be ruined. They did that. Now I
Right.
just have to figure out how to get out of that. Maybe dance, maybe do
Yeah.
something with myself, and then everything will be good. It's the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
Yes. I really want to say thank you because I know that there are our listeners and viewers who are also women of
Mm-hmm.
faith, and individuals of faith. And I also know we all carry different relationships and connections to
Mm-hmm.
religion, to faith, to spirituality. And I really appreciate the recognition that there is a higher purpose and a higher
Mm-hmm.
power that for some people is going to be God, and for others is going to be just the
Mm-hmm.
universe and the way in which various laws of not only attraction but also responsibility and energy and karma and
Mm-hmm.
etc. can really impact the way that we exist in this world, not only as humans but also as spiritual
Beings. Yeah.
beings. And part of that, which I really want to say thank you, is we can metabolize the negativity that comes because we don't walk this earth sadly always faced with all of the good. We have a continuum of, on one end, yes, good, and another end,
Mm-hmm.
bad. And every moment in life, we're kind of, faced with different elements of that continuum, and we don't have to hold it or carry
Yeah.
it. We can metabolize it. And part of that is, as you've shared, is finding the right ways to metabolize that so that it does not keep us constrained in this, mental cage or sometimes physical
Mm-hmm.
cage that keeps us held back. And you're reminding me of, like, when you said movement and dance,
Mm-hmm.
I think of some of the work that I'm doing when I'm looking at ancestral practices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of how many cultures, mine included, used things like dreams and used things like movement to metabolize what was happening in their outer
Mm-hmm.
world so that their inner world wasn't a reflection of always this,
I
negativity,
love it.
right? And this
Mm-hmm.
trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so there's so much opportunity for us to return to some of these ancestral
Yes.
practices, to return to some of these verses,
Mm-hmm.
to return to some of the poems, the proverbs, oral storytelling, like all of these
Yeah.
things that helped us stay connected to our gifts and our
Mm-hmm.
humanity. That perhaps now in the 21st century, we have lost that connection because we've been conditioned to believe that the only way to live, as you shared, is to stay at a specific state of function,
Mm-hmm.
dysfunction.
Exactly. Like we're just surviving, and
Yeah,
that's not okay.
we're just
Yeah.
surviving. No.
I'm not no longer surviving. So
Oh gosh. It actually takes more energy to survive
yes.
than to
Mm-hmm.
thrive. And like you said, it's a
Yeah.
birthright. It's a birthright for us to be in our fullest
Mm-hmm.
potential and to be the people that we are meant to be and fulfill the destiny that we're meant to
Yep.
fulfill.
I totally
Ah,
love that because one of the truths that I actually realized is yeah, or the
yeah,
ancient way was the way. And
yeah,
I feel like me, I grew up in Congo and I came to Canada.
hmm,
It's a whole different
yeah,
culture and system. But I remember in Congo, kids were playing. I remember there was
hmm,
very like much of a community and respecting elders and all of that. And when you come here, it's different.
hmm,
And as much as we
yeah,
love it, I feel like it's taking us apart. It's like really pulling us away from
hmm,
the reality, the truth that we actually need. Because as Black people, Black women, women of color,
hmm,
we have to
hmm,
understand that the ancient times that they really, like you said, used dreams,
hmm,
dancing, movement, all of that.
hmm,
And the most important thing is loving the sun.
yeah,
And that's one thing that people don't understand.
yes,
Me at work, when I go and I'm like at the, conference talking about mental health and how the sun is
yeah,
good, it's like an antidepressant. And I look back, I'm like,
yeah,
when I lived in Congo, there was no depression. We were happy. Like community wise, we
yes,
were good. But it looks like the change
yeah,
happened when we were more and more like stuck
yeah,
on the desk to work or at school, and we're stepping away
hmm,
from um,
yeah,
from the sun. And that's how we
yeah,
all get depressed and all that. And it's
hmm,
crazy. And I really want people to understand that the old ways,
yeah,
it was not a bad way, or it was not witchcraft.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's sometimes the fear that people
Mm-hmm.
have, right? Like when you talk about some of these aspects, like dreams, and premonitions and many other things, people get really
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and then they label
Mm-hmm.
it, and then once that label gets socialized as, as negative or demonized, anyone who then talks about it gets put in that
Yeah.
category as well, and you get
Mm-hmm.
silenced. Yeah.
But you know what I noticed?
Hmm.
I realized actually a few weeks ago that
Yeah.
we again, when we talk about ancestors, and this, I would really love people
Yeah.
to go and try to talk to their grandparents and try to even go and read their books, because
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't have grandparents anymore, but I'm
Right.
able to
Right.
still seek knowledge from ancient times. A lot of
Yeah.
people wrote books about this.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really important
Mm-hmm.
about this is understanding that knowledge, okay, really
Yeah.
frees you from fear, because the more you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the more you're able to make like good decisions, because now you know, right? And what I noticed when
Mm-hmm.
I was reading all these books is the
Mm-hmm.
stars have a clock, and the clock, we're going through
Yes.
a change. We were at the age, or
Yeah.
we're just leaving the age of Pisces, and we're going towards the age of
Yeah.
Aquarius. And the change that I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing here is Pisces was actually the age of belief and hidden
Mm.
knowledge. So, like you were describing,
Mm-hmm.
that if you talked about witchcraft, you would be, murdered or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
killed. And
Yeah.
those are the things that people were afraid of at the age of Pisces. But now we're moving to the age
Yeah.
of Aquarius. Aquarius is water, and water is memory. The memory that we
Mm.
have
Oh,
today is the internet. Now, we are going to
yeah.
see that a lot of these talks, conversation about ancient times, a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
hidden truth will be coming out, because water is
Yeah.
is real, okay?
Oh,
It
it
flows,
flows.
and it can
Yes.
be, it can kill people. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't
Yeah.
know how it's gonna be, but we are at the cusp
Yeah.
of changing into the age of Aquarius, and I can already see
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of, especially Black people,
Yeah.
we are now elevating ourselves, and it's going to touch us spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel exactly what you're sharing, because I want to just name something that I think is so powerful, that I see in the community that has really been connected in with unspeakable
Mm-hmm.
leadership. I get to meet incredible women and guests like
Yes.
yourself, who are really returning to a sense of a core of who they
Mm-hmm.
are, remembering not only cultures but remembering the
Mm-hmm.
memory that their community and particularly women around them
Mm-hmm.
carried and
Mm-hmm.
shared over time. I'm also seeing women who are reclaiming a part of themselves that they had to
Yes.
suppress at one moment in
Mm-hmm.
time, and out of not only fear and out of survival, but also out of
Mm-hmm.
protection. Because I do think, when you make that leap of faith and you immigrate and you move, sometimes assimilation feels like the right way to just get through and
Yes.
adapt and be accepted. And then, and one moment in time, you realize this is not the way that I want to live. And that the way that you used to be in community and in sisterhood and in connection was much more not only authentic, but it felt way better and felt
Yes.
right. And so it's interesting that you add this beautiful, astrological backdrop as well, for us to then see that some of this is, it's happening unconsciously, but it's also happening consciously.
Yes.
And so the more that we tap into our gifts, and the more that we tap into our intuition, and the more that we listen, like really
Yes.
listen, the more that we are going to be flowing like water. Because the one thing I know about water is also cleansing.
Yes.
It also, kind of comes through and washes away
Mm-hmm.
the not the dirt only, but the muck that does not serve
Mm-hmm.
us. And so I'm excited for what you are putting forward as this new opportunity for each and every one of us to not only carry the wisdom that we have, but to help each other see what we bring, and collectively what we might create together. I'm so excited for this.
I am, because honestly, it is something that I just randomly found out, but it also gave me confidence. Okay, it gave me confidence
Yeah.
because I'm like, a lot of things, I don't know about you, but for me, as soon as I stepped out of that hospital, I chose to follow my intuition. And my intuition has been
Yeah.
bringing me left and right, up and down, and I'm just discovering all of these things. But at one point, I was like,
Yeah.
it's so weird. When I was questioning myself in 2018, I barely
Mm,
found anything. And today I'm seeing all
yeah.
of these things about ancient Kemet, about like my own also
Mhm.
ancestry. They have books. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that. But then now I'm like reading these books and understanding that we already knew before colonization. We already
Yes.
knew God. We already, like, we were not just some forest people. We were civilized, right? And so the
Exactly.
memory that you're talking
And
about,
and can I,
yeah.
yeah. And can I just say, this idea of
Hmm.
civilized, I think every culture that has gone through layers of
Yeah.
colonization, the way in which the idea of
Mm.
civilization has been co-opted and like, you know, um, reframed under this idea of, oh, they are barbaric,
Mm-hmm.
or we're bringing this new civilization to them. And you just shared, no, civilization was always
Yes.
there. It's just it was a different definition
Mm-hmm.
and a better definition because it was one that was rooted in everyone
Yes.
succeeding,
Yes.
not in this idea of there's only space for one person,
Mm-hmm.
competition, control, and that layer of dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Like that definition of civilization, which exists in every system that we
Yeah.
see, that's actually not in line with our humanity and our gifts.
No.
So I had to say that because I was like, let's name
No, but
it.
honestly, and the crazy part is the civilization or the owners of those that civilization, like they know
Yeah.
stuff that we are
Hmm.
afraid to go and seek, right? The reason why there's horror
Yeah.
movies is to make you be afraid of looking in the mirror. You think something's going to pop out. But when you
Yeah.
look in the mirror, you're
Yeah.
actually just looking at your spirit. A lot of people don't know
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
when you are in the dark, again, in the dark, that's where
Mhm.
lights comes out, right? And so you're
Yeah.
like being afraid of these things will
Yeah.
make you go even further from your spirit because your spirit resides in the dark. So when you're sleeping, you mentioned
Yeah.
dreams. Where does dreams happen? In the
Hmm.
dark. People don't understand
Yeah.
that, but it's just those little things that with knowledge you are removing these fears,
Hmm.
you are removing that. Even the whole thing about
Yeah.
Satan, the devil, witchcraft, you have to remove it
Hmm.
because those are the things, labels.
Yeah.
Honestly, anything that they don't understand, they label it as bad. That's literally how I
Exactly.
understood it. So for me,
Which is ignorance.
exactly. And for
Hmm.
me, it's like we
Hmm.
really need to sit down with ourselves and be like, what's good for me? Is this civilization
Hmm.
good for me? Or can I find a
Yeah.
way to put myself first and still be healthy while I'm doing this? One thing that I tell my nieces and nephews is everything that's popular, most of the things that are popular,
Hmm.
is bad for you.
Oh,
And so, you have to really understand that.
even though they're so good, though, they're so
It's
good.
comfort.
Or you're like, it's
Killing
bad.
you with comfort,
It
okay?
is.
Sugar slowly
Mm-hmm.
kills you, alcohol slowly kills you. A lot of
Yeah.
things that we get comfortable with,
Yeah.
we don't understand, but those are the things it's making you comfortable with disease.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like I
Mm-hmm.
started my episode talking about how, we're comfortable
Yeah.
with positive and negative. We're getting so
Mm-hmm.
okay with depression. And today, for me, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% for going to see a therapist and I'm for therapy. But I still am
Yeah.
wondering, does therapy have an end or is it something that always have to go in? Like, do you always have an issue to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my question. I
Right.
still don't have an answer for that because the way I go to therapy is I
Mm-hmm.
go for an issue, it helps me, and then maybe
Mm-hmm.
a few sessions for a month, and that's it. And I'll go and I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay. And when
Mm-hmm.
another thing comes up, then I'll go back to the therapist. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
wondering, like, isn't it like just going to therapy all the time? Isn't that just you being comfortable with being depressed so that you always go back and
Mm-hmm.
just talk to someone and then you go back
Mm-hmm.
to your depression? That is something that I'm wondering if that's just
Yeah.
making us comfortable again with this negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And may I say, I because I know I have incredible friends in my own
Mm-hmm.
circle who have struggled with
Mm-hmm.
depression. And it is a
Yes.
journey. It is a difficult
Mm-hmm.
one that oftentimes can be put under this spotlight of there's something wrong with
Mm-hmm.
you, and that's not
Yes.
true. Like there's some real research and data that shows that it is also a chemical
Mm-hmm.
imbalance. It is also biological. It's also
Mm-hmm.
hereditary, and then there are many psychosocial aspects. And what I'm hearing you say is that there's also an opportunity for us to question, right? Question the medical system, question the entire perception of health and well
Mm-hmm.
being, and what's been presented as the models of treatment, the opportunities of us getting support, and then how we live our
Mm-hmm.
lives. And how do we start to make some of those intentional decisions that are at our fingertips that can make us perhaps live a very different
Mm-hmm.
life that is much more aligned, much more
Yeah.
integrated, and helps us become uh, in the not only the company but in the experience of having really fulfilling lives that aren't always about negativity.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ah, there's so many. Oh my goodness, I feel like we could go on,
Yes.
and yet we are at a close. And so I offer two last questions. The first one is, we have a range of
Mm-hmm.
listeners. There are many who watch Unspeakable Leadership, who listen to Unspeakable Leadership, who are either starting their leadership journeys, and also some that are well into their leadership and are thinking about their careers in different
Yes.
ways. What would you tell someone who is ready to define their own arena? What's one thing that you would want them to know?
You are a manifestation machine. And to understand that is to understand, you have to understand this world. You have to understand how this world works. And throughout this
Yeah.
conversation, one thing that I really want
Hmm.
to point out is the fact that we've talked about this human experience, but we also went up the sky, right? And
We
yeah,
did.
so it
And even beyond
exactly.
it, I feel like we even went, we took ourselves into the universe and into space. Like,
Yes.
we didn't even need to get into the
We went in
rocket.
the past and now we're back in the present. And this is one thing like people who pay attention would notice, but it's a mirror. Okay? Your life, your
Yeah.
internal life, what is what reflects your external, right? So you are the source and you are a
Mm,
manifestation machine. Whatever you think, you say, even if you think like, oh, I'm just writing my journal, I'm going to ask or I'm going to pray, however
yeah.
you manifest, just understand that that's not the end. Your spirit is always
Hmm.
watching. And when you are building that arena, you have to always look at the positive. Always vibrate in that
Right.
positivity. Even if you're going through hardship, understand that with
Yeah.
time, this too shall pass. It's always like that. And that's
Hmm.
something that really helps me when I'm draining something or I'm like dreading doing something. I always say 30 minutes, it's going to pass, right? So you just do it. All
Love
right.
it.
That's my
Yeah.
little two tips for you.
Incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you for the wisdom that you carry, the wisdom that you exude and share, and the honesty that you do that with so much care and thoughtfulness. I really appreciate you, Emmerance
My
Victoria.
pleasure.
Absolutely. My last and final question is, we are going to share all of your socials, your website, because we know that many of our listeners and our viewers love to stay
Yes.
connected, love to look up our guests and find out
Mm-hmm.
more. And so, my final question to you is there one thing that you'd like our listeners and our viewers to take you up on?
Yes. I have so many things, but one new thing
I know it's hard.
one new thing that I started just last week is History Unveiled. I'm basically looking into the Bible. It's the only book that has history in it from the ancient times.
Hmm.
And basically, I'm going live on TikTok every Sunday and I'm teaching history based on the Bible to actually see the truth because the Bible does
Hmm.
have truth in it, but we're going to look at it in a different
Yeah.
perspective. So if you're interested, and also it's going to help you with your own self confidence because it's about Black people.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow on TikTok at the Emmerance.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we will make sure we have your TikTok handle available so that those who are able and want to be able to spend what I feel is going to be an incredible way of spending your Sunday with
Mm-hmm.
you to learn and to grow
Yes.
together. Thank you so much. I feel like I've grown even in this conversation as well. So I
Oh,
appreciate
same
you.
here, Rohene. Really nice talking to you.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you. If this episode spoke to something you have been quietly carrying, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Unspeakable Leadership and join thousands of listeners and viewers around the world who are redefining leadership on their own terms. Every week of each season, we unpack conversations most people avoid: power, identity, reinvention, grief, ambition, courage, the cost of shrinking, and the freedom of becoming. This podcast isn't surface level. It's honest, it's layered, it's the kind of conversation that stays with you long after the episode ends. So I'm going to ask you for a favor. Subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, or share the episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Because every share helps the stories that you hear reach the people who have been searching for the language, the clarity, and the right nudge to lead differently. And if an episode has moved you, tell me. I always love hearing from you.